Hello everyone. Today's demonstration is for the Velosimo connector Accela to Bluebeam Studio for plan review. So for today's process, we're going to walk through a plan review and let's get started. I have a record with a couple of documents loaded up. They're of a certain category and status, which is important for the routing process. And let's use workflow to begin that process. So from plans distribution, we're going to choose route to Bluebeam Studio. And this is going to initiate Velosimo to create the Bluebeam Studio project, add the files to the project, and then status workflow accordingly back in Accela, so that first step in the Bluebeam project creation is complete. So we'll wait just a moment here. We'll update the status here in workflow to indicate that this process is done. All right, and now we can finish the routing process for this plan review. So I'm going to choose routed for review, and we're going to select which groups or departments are going to participate in this particular review in Bluebeam, and then we'll submit this. And what's happening in the background now is Velosimo is getting all of the users from the assigned departments and adding them to the Bluebeam Studio sessions that are being created. So this is all happening in the background so that when the Bluebeam Studio user accesses their Bluebeam review tool for the review, that will be preloaded for them with the appropriate documents, and they can just begin their review without any file management. So as you can see, the 3 reviews that I marked became active. I do want to indicate the subtasks. We are using the Accela electronic document review capabilities, and that means we're tracking the document for each group that's doing the review, and we're creating a document review task that is assigned per document. That will allow you to use the task management dashboard to show these to your users if you're using Accela task assignment and processing that way. So the task dashboard can be used to manage these tasks if that's how you're managing tasks within the Accela solution. Okay, so with everything being ready to be worked on in Bluebeam, let's move over to Bluebeam and show that. There are a couple of different ways to get to Bluebeam. So you can open it up and load it up. You can also access it from Accela. So if I choose the review page here, the moment I choose review, it's going to open up if Bluebeam is installed on the same machine that you're using the browser on. So let's show that, get that running. Okay, Bluebeam is, Accela also opens we created a summary page, and we'll come back to this in a moment when I'm done with the markups, but it also opens up this at the same time that it opens up the Bluebeam tool for the users. So let's move over to Bluebeam and complete a markup. So I'm going to leave the last thing I was working and refresh my project lists. You'll notice record number 123 has come into my list. That's the record we're working on today for the demonstration. And it's created a structure of the first review cycle underneath the project folder. So Bluebeam project and Bluebeam Studio session. And the session has the documents that can be marked up by various users that are participating in the review. So let's show that. Since Bluebeam Studio is an online cloud-based solution, many users can be doing what I'm doing at the same time. They can also obviously do it on their own time frames. It'll track it in the same locations as the user makes those updates. So let's just make a couple of simple comments. Make a second comment here, and just to illustrate what Bluebeam is doing down below. The markups list has the comment itself, the author, the date and timestamp for that particular comment, and it allows the tracking of all of these comments across all of the different reviewers that are going to come in and make comments in the system. So at this point, you can make a comment summary in the Bluebeam tool, which can be useful in your communications back to your applicants during the plan review process. So you can produce a very easy to read summary that shows the author, the comment itself over here, the location, the page number, so on and so forth. So a very simple summary. And then we can add this to the Bluebeam Studio session. When we do, that exposes it to Velosimo, and that means we can bring it back to Accela. So that's why we would do this. Okay, let's move back over to Accela and status the tasks accordingly. Again, I want to reiterate, we are using the document review model in Accela, so we do need to update our workflow and the subtasks. You can do that using task management. For today's demonstration, I'm going to use the summary page because it's a lot quicker and easier for me to do it. I'm also going to do it across department. I know that's not a real world scenario. This is each building reviewer, the building reviewer, the fire reviewer, the planning reviewer would be coming in and statusing their two documents based on their markup within the Bluebeam system. We do also allow the entering of comments here. These are stored against the subtask, so they're available for reporting if you choose to manage comments in that fashion. So I'm going to approve these documents. And then I'm going to leave that first one not approved because I'm going to mark it as revisions required to create the second plan review cycle. So let's let that update. And then I'm going to revisions required here and save. Okay, and now we do need to status our workflows as mentioned. This can be automated based on the subtask update that I just did. It's just an EMSE script during the implementation process to do so. So I'm going to update fire as approved. Building marked it as revisions required, so let's set that accordingly. And planning review will mark it as approved as well. Okay, so now that's going to open up the plans coordination task. And with that task, let's refresh workflow here, and you can see the plans coordination task is available, and now we can make two choices really. There's corrections or there's approval. Since we marked it as revisions required, we're going to get the corrections deliverable, which is going to pull all of the documents from the Bluebeam session that we did the markup in back to Accela to make them available for part of the plan review process. So let's show that. So I'm going to set that to corrections deliverable. And at this point, the system's getting those documents from Velosimo, and we are waiting for those documents to come back so that we can take the next step. So the next step, we do need to route the workflow to as revisions required to loop back up in the process. So let's do so. Okay, and let's show the documents. They're starting to come back. So you see they're not quite done yet. We're waiting for one more. Yeah, okay, there we go. So now you'll see in the documents that we brought back the marked up version for each document that went through the process, and we've statused them accordingly. Document 2, this document here, is marked as review complete approved because we approved it across all departments. Document 1, down here on the bottom, is marked as revisions required because building indicated revisions were required. You'll also note this is the summary file of the comments that was produced in Bluebeam, and we have brought it back to the Accela Documents tab for use by your agency. So at this point, we're waiting for the next submittal to come in from the applicant, and we're going to show that from Citizen Access. Okay, so from Citizen Access, the customer can see the documents associated with the record. We can look at the attachment section, and we'll see what we see in the back office. We see the 5 documents, the first 2 original submittals, the 2 marked up plans, so the applicant has access to the markups in the files themselves. And then we've also provided the summary document, which summarizes the comments. You will note document 1, the marked up version is marked as resubmittal, and that's what we're here to do as the applicant. So I'm going to upload doc 1 cycle 2 for the second round of markups. So those are the revisions. let's save that. And at this point, we can move back to Accela. Let's check that the document came back. It has. We have a new document down here on the bottom, Doc1 Cycle 2, status of uploaded. It's uploaded by the public user from Citizen Access. So at this point, we're going to repeat the routing process to Bluebeam to generate the second cycle of reviews. So let's move to workflow. We're sitting on plans distribution as we looped back up to the distribution task when we marked it as revisions required. And let's route this to Bluebeam again. So that's going to process. Again, we're creating, we're managing all the files and associating them with the current project. And then the next step will create the sessions with the users and so on and so forth. So we'll wait for this status to move to documents routed, which it should be already. And there we go. Let's route this back for review. Now we can choose here. Do we want to send it to all groups? We can. So I can just leave it as building, planning, and fire. It'll go out to each group for review again. And then, or you can just send it to the department that needed the revisions. It's based on your business process and how you manage those reviews at your agency. So let's submit that. That's going to process. Again, we're going to open up those same 3 workflow tasks, which is what we selected to have each department check that file again. And it's processing out to Bluebeam. Give it just a moment. Let's leave our session here. I see that second session has come in, so let's just refresh our projects. And so the 123 record in Accela now has 2 review cycles. The very first one remains unchanged in Bluebeam. You can see what was said. You can go back to it at any time. And then we've created the second round. So the second round of reviews came in. I have the document that I need to review. Again, if you needed the whole set, you would have just statused each document accordingly. And then that would require the resubmittal of each document in the plan set. So I'm going to, in this case, so we're going to take the approval path. So I'm not going to do any markups or any comments, but you could imagine your staff adding their stamping at this time to stamp the approved set of plans so that we can bring that back to Accela. Okay, so let's move back to Accela to finish the approval process for this record. So if I move back to Accela, I still need to update those subtasks. So let's do that. Let's go to the second document and mark the review so that we can get the summary page. Okay, and the summary page shows the complete process, so it keeps the second document here. It's marked as approved so that everyone can see what's going on with the plan review cycle. Now, we don't need to status the subtask as approved if they've already been approved, but we do for building, so let's save that. Okay, and at this point we can go and move our workflow forward to close this process out. So we're going to approve from each department, and then this is going to complete the process, and when we're done here we'll get the approved deliverable, which brings back the which would bring back the stamped plans. Okay, now let's run the approved deliverable from plans coordination. And once we've done that, we can status the plans coordination step as ready to issue. That will move the workflow process to the issuance step. While I was doing that, the system was going out to get that 7th document, that approved set of plans. It's not back yet, but it's coming. There it is. It's popped in now. So we have Doc1 Cycle 2 marked as review complete approved. So we've got our 2 sets of approved plans associated with the record and exposed to Citizen Access so the customer can see that process. And that's how the Accela to Bluebeam Velosimo connector automates the process of plan review.